Business is brought to you by Audible.com.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Married with a Business. I'm Craig.
And I'm Allison.
And we're Married with a Business. We're here to share tips, tricks, stories of what it's like to be a married couple that own and operate a business together. And we have kids, and we have family, and we have sandwich generation. So we got a lot.
It's a lot. Everybody has a lot, though.
Right.
We're not special.
We're not special. And so I guess that's why we're here. We're here to talk about how we're not special.
I mean, I am special.
You know what's special is, Allison, I'm super excited. Right now, both of our boys are involved in the school production of Shrek the Musical.
Yes.
At their high school. And our youngest is like front of house. He's like handing out the playbills before the show and helping people get to their seats and all that.
But he also worked on tech. He spent every Saturday this fall building sets.
Yeah, so he's really proud of like the dragon they built and painted the castle or, you know, those things. And then I'm super excited because our oldest son is the light board operator.
Yes.
Which is special to me because that's what I did for years. I did it in college.
We don't want anybody at school to know.
Part of my degree is in theatrical lighting. I worked professionally in theatrical lighting.
You don't want people at school to know that we both have theater degrees.
I know. We keep telling our boys, we're like, don't tell anybody at the school that we have both worked professionally in theater.
That being said, we are happy to help if anybody does find out.
Yeah.
Because we have big mouths, and that's why we're trying not to push in.
Yes, we're trying. And part of it, too, though, is we want them to have their own path and not have mom and dad, like, sort of looming over, like, their things that they're involved in.
The things that we did in middle school and high school were our things. They weren't things that our parents were involved in and made us do. And so because they like things that we like doesn't mean that we necessarily want to overstep our boundaries.
And you and I have had this conversation, I think, on the show before, but you and I are like chronic overachievers. Like we can't not put our hand in the cookie jar sometimes.
It would be great if we would achieve something, though.
We've achieved a lot of things, but I think a lot of times we want to be involved. We want to volunteer. We want to help out. And it's really hard for us to pull back from that sometimes.
And we'd like to make goals and help improve things where we see there could be opportunities to get better, because it's a bad habit, but that's what I do all day long. That's literally my primary day-to-day job, is evaluating what's working at Almar, where is there an opportunity for us to get better, and what path would we need to take to get better? So it is like an occupational hazard for me too, though.
Right. I mean, and like we were talking about it earlier, like you approach everything like you approach the business. You look at it, you look at the systems and the structure and the organization and the goals.
Baseball is a business.
Yeah.
Scouts is a business.
I know. I understand that.
So yeah, but I'm really proud of the kids for having something that they're passionate about and want to learn about and trying to figure it out. And as much as they know we're here to help, they're trying to do it on their own until they feel like they're hitting a wall where they could use some help.
Yeah. And so I guess all of that sort of ties into a little bit about what we're talking about today. I mean, especially the you and I being overachiever are part of it. But we're talking about like keeping the end in mind, setting goals, achieving those goals, how to deal with when those goals move or moving those goals. So like, I think you've always said, and I know it's from someone else, you never achieve a goal that's not set.
It wasn't me. I stole that from somebody. But I mean, if you want to credit me with it for you, that's perfectly fine. I recently had the wonderful opportunity to sit down with a local networking group and workshop with like 15, 20 women who are both business owners and team members for other people, and talk about, all right, as we're getting towards the end of the year or starting to think about the next year, or it could even be the next season, what goals do you want to achieve, and what is a roadmap that you can do to break those goals down into small action items to help move you forward?
Well, and I think there's a couple of things to look at here. Like this is a very obviously fourth quarter end of year, very popular time to do goal setting, right? A lot of people, we do it for our business. We set all of our goals for next year. We build our budgets. We do all of these things to prepare ourselves for next year. But sometimes we've got to think about how we get to those goals. It's funny. I was actually talking to somebody the other day, and he talked about, he sits down every year with one of his clients and he helps them build a budget and sales goals and revenue goals. And then he had the client call him halfway through the year and say, hey, you know what? We're going to miss our revenue goals. So we should probably sit down and change the budget. And my friend was like, well, you shouldn't change your budget. You should change how you're going to achieve hitting the goals or what it looks like if you don't hit those goals.
Yeah, I find a lot of people don't know how to make a goal, a wish, a want, and lay it out so that it's achievable or to even know if they've achieved it. They just say they want to do things, and that's kind of where it ends.
And I think there are a lot of books, there are a lot of processes out there. We use Traction, Gino Wickman's Traction and the VTO to help us set goals. But there are a lot of ways that you can work towards getting those goals. But tell us a little bit about what are some of the ways that you can work towards a goal? What are some things that you can do?
I think the first thing is figuring out what a goal is. A goal is the result or achievement toward which your effort is directed, right? So if you're doing something, what is the purpose of doing it? What is the outcome you want to have happen? That's a goal, right? And there are two real big, there's lots of different categories of goals, but you kind of have an achievement goal. You're going to work on something till it gets done. You have a certain number in your bank account. You get a certain certification. You've done X, Y, Z. And then there's a habit goal. It's something that you're working towards that then becomes a process, a system, something is part of your everyday.
And so an achievement goal example of that is you set your sales goals for the year. You set if you have to get a number of leads or people that walk in the door. Those are the kind of goals that achievement goals are.
Right. It's something you can say, is it done? Yes or no. There's a metrics to monitoring if it's done, if you're on pace, if you're behind.
Habit goals, though, a little different.
Yeah, habit goal is if you want to become a healthier person, it's all of the things you need to change in your lifestyle to become a healthier person, right?
So they can kind of intermix, right? So I can say, hey, I want to lose 35 pounds. Right? That's an achievement goal.
Correct.
But what are the habit goals to get to that?
Correct.
I'm getting up every morning to ride the bike for an hour. I'm going on a walk for every day or 3 times a week.
Right. And the reasons you want to set different goals are varied, right? Sometimes it's about direction and focus. Sometimes it's about motivation. Sometimes it's about increasing productivity or performance or having that sense of accomplishment. Or just personal growth, which also leads to that sense of accomplishment.
And growth, I think a lot of times people think it happens instantaneously, but it's kind of it's small steps. It takes a little, you build to those changes.
Yeah, I think when you realize that you're growing, it's always in that hindsight, that 2020 looking in the rearview mirror, when you're 45 and you're looking back at your 20-year-old self, all of the little things and skills and times you stepped out of your comfort zone fosters that growth and development. I was facilitating at a conference this week for women in construction, and I went into it, I knew what I was talking about. I didn't need the specific guided notes, but there were a couple other women who were younger than I am by 10 or 20 years, and they were very anxious and nervous about facilitating these breakout groups. And every time I did it in the past is what made me confident to have the skills to do it today. Every time I said yes when I was nervous, I was having that personal growth to get to, where I am today. I was still nervous, but not the way I was 20 years ago.
Right. So you've thought about your goals. You've set your goals. If it's a financial goal, a systems, if it's an achievement, a number, a sales, whatever it may be, you've thought about what is the reason I'm doing this goal? What is the factor? Why? What is the motivation for this? Right?
Yeah.
You know what you're going to do. What are some of the first steps to helping you achieve that goal? What are some of the first steps that you would take, Allison, to like start building? Like, here's my goal. This is what I want to do. What are some of the first things that you would do to build to prepare yourself for the goal?
Well, I think a couple of the things that when I work with people on our team is we talk about the motivation. The first steps are why are you setting this goal? One and two or three reasons. And sometimes they blurt something out and then they can't give me a why. So I really try to poke them and push them and think about, okay, in a year, say we're looking at a year goal, why do you want to have achieved this goal between now and then? Is it because it's a financial goal, a community goal, systems, is it a communication issue, like again, a habit or achievement? What is the purpose? And then we start to talk about the first few steps to the goal. I have this great little image that I got off the internet that has this big apple tree, right? And so the apple tree, it represents the end goal. It's a big, strong tree with healthy apples. The apple kind of is the goal. And then you break it down in a slice of the apple and then a seed. So what are all of the things we need to start thinking about to going from the apple seed to the apple tree?
Yeah, what has to be true for us to be able to achieve this goal?
And I said that I've stolen that line from somebody else. Somebody said that to me, and that was one of the things I've grabbed onto. And when we did this workshop last week, I said that, and one of the women came up to me afterward and she said, "That's my takeaway." I said, "What do you mean?" She goes, "When I'm thinking about my goals, what has to be true for me to get these things done? Do I need to get over my own head trash? Do I need to time block? Do I need to learn something? I want to do this goal, but what has to be true for me to be able to do it? Because otherwise I'd already be doing it."
And then I think you need to take the goal, and like you said, you need to take the goal and you need to break it into sections, projects, milestones. If it's a budget, we do it every year. We talk about our produced revenue for a year, but like we can put a big number for the whole year, but we break it down quarterly and monthly based on historic data of, hey, here is our revenue goal for the month of January. Here's our revenue goal for the month of, and you may be a store that sells something. You may be a retail store. You probably need to break it down by a day or a week.
Right, but even by the month, day, week, you've got to know what do you have to do to get there. So we can say, my goal is to sell this. Okay, what has to be true for that to happen? And you get a smaller thing. What has to be true for that to happen? You get a smaller thing. What has to be true for that to happen? You get a smaller thing until you get to that like one task that kicks you off. And I think that's the hard part, is taking this big idea and breaking it down and breaking it down and breaking it down, because people don't know where to get started.
Well, and I think that's why we talk a lot about the Vision Traction Organizer, and we talk a lot about the VTO and Gino Wickman's Traction book, which you can get on audible.com, by the way, because that book kind of walks you through how and helps you set and break those goals down.
Right. And then once I kind of push people through all of those steps to get down to that like real tiny first step, what are the other things we need to consider? A lot of times our team will say, well, I want to do this by this date. And I was like, okay, well, what are the other things we need to consider? Are there vacations coming up? Are there holidays? Is there any health blocks? What are the roadblocks? Other people blocks? What are all those roadblocks that you might need to consider that might affect one way or the other your ability to do that task?
And a lot of it comes down to, you set the goal and then you go backwards from the goal. All right, you work backwards from it and say, okay, well, here are the things that we need. Here's the little goals that we need to do to get to the big goal.
Right. And we also like to preemptively say how we're going to celebrate, because we are in a culture where we don't celebrate wins and we don't celebrate achievement things. We just move on to the next one. So whether that's, I had a woman in one of our wisdom board accountability groups who was studying for an exam, and she said, I am not getting my nails done again until I get this done. She came in for 3 or 4 meetings in a row. no nails done. And that was like for her. You know what I mean? But she had committed to that was how she was going to celebrate.
So, and that's the other thing. You need to. That's a great way to help motivate you to get the goal done. Is to pick that celebration. Let's talk, Allison, a little bit about like scheduling a goal, like scheduling how you get a goal done.
I'm a big fan of time blocking, and by that I mean setting appointments with yourself. We have a lot of people on our team who have set goals and they've done nothing to work on them because they haven't made meeting with themselves a priority. And no matter how many times I tell them, book an appointment on your schedule. We have a person on our team who has had an action item to do for 2 years. I set a deadline and then they said, oh, I haven't worked on it. Well, why haven't you worked on it? Well, I haven't had time. Why haven't you had time? You haven't committed to yourself that it's important enough to put on your schedule. So having an appointment with yourself is just as important as having an appointment with other people sometimes. You can't overbook time with yourself. You have to be realistic. But what I do is when I'm not moving forward on a goal, I book time with myself to work on it. And then I have to hold myself accountable to doing it. I was shocked by the number of people in our recent workshop who had never even heard of the time blocking concept, or it's always a when I get to it. You're going to get to nothing if you don't schedule it.
Well, yeah, and if you look at it that way, if you set a goal but you don't time block or you don't, set markers, milestones for you to get it done, what's going to happen is what happened when you were in high school and you had a paper due tomorrow. You were writing it at midnight to try to get it done so you could turn it in. It's the same thing. You wait to the last minute.
No, you had that problem.
You never had that problem.
I have always been an anal retentive high C with anxiety disorder.
You were the one who wrote the paper like before on the bus ride home, right?
Do your homework on Friday so you're not worried about it on Sunday night.
I'm just saying.
And sometimes you have to close your door. If you don't have a door, sometimes you have to say to your coworkers, I am working on something. I cannot be disturbed. When I didn't have a door, I literally had a piece of paper that I taped to the back of my chair and said, do not disturb. And it's okay to set boundaries and expectations with the people in your office, in your team, to let them know for the next 45 minutes, I'm going to be unavailable. I need to work on something. I need to focus on something.
Let's talk about, though, sometimes people have problems with goal setting, that they set goals that are easily achievable. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but there should be some stretch goals.
Yeah, sometimes you need a win. Sometimes you got to have a win.
I don't disagree. It's perfectly fine. And there are days, like we talked about how we use Michael Hyatt's Full Focus Planner a lot, and there are days where I'll get a goal done or I'll get something done and I'll be like, oh, that wasn't on my planner. I'll write it and still put a check mark beside it just to make me feel good.
Dude, because you still get a dopamine rush. The checking off gives you that rush, and sometimes you need to feel good.
But let's talk about like being able to set like your base goal and then maybe a big goal.
All right. We've all heard about SMART goals, right? Simple, having metrics, all of that stuff. So let's give an example. This is one that you say all the time. I need to get in shape.
Right.
What does that even mean? Right? So a better example would be I want to lose 10 pounds of body fat by my birthday by exercising at least 3 times a week for 30 minutes and following a calorie-controlled diet, or let's say putting my food into my app, right? So see the difference there? Like, get into shape versus I want to do this by doing this by this time frame. It's so much clearer, right? It's specific. You want to lose 10 pounds is better than just get in shape. It's measurable. Lose 10 pounds and exercise 3 times a week. It's achievable. Losing 10 pounds is much more achievable in that time frame, whatever you're doing, than say, I want to lose 100 pounds. I want to be 120, right? It's relevant. Losing weight will align with your other health and wellness goals. It's time-bound. You're giving yourself a clear time frame for which you want to do it. So this is much more smart. It becomes more effective, and it provides you a better roadmap. And I think that's one of the things that I've worked a lot with our team on is they take this like very vague goal, and we've kind of put it into that format, and it helps them more align with what they're looking for.
Yeah, and sometimes you need to set goals in chunks, right? You need to have that big goal. You need to set, hey, I want to lose 50 pounds or I want to lose 100 pounds overall, but I need to lose 10 pounds by X date. So,
Right.
we talk about setting, and we do this a lot. We do this with our sales goals for ourselves internally. We have a sales goal that we share with our team, and then we set ourselves a BHAG, a big, hairy, audacious goal. And then, sometimes what's the one that's supposed to be even bigger than that? There's one,
man.
I forget what the phrase was.
I forget.
We had somebody tell us one.
But the phrase BHAG was coined by Jim Collins and Jerry Porras in their book Built to Last: Successful Habits of Visionary Companies.
And so like sometimes you have to set that, okay, let's say, hey, here's our goal, but our BHAG, our big hairy goal, the goal that it would be great if we hit is this. And you kind of want to work towards that goal, knowing that if you achieve the base goal, you're success.
Yeah, and BHAGs are, oftentimes much bigger, broader goals. So they're not really like 1 and 5 year goals. They're 10 and 25 year goals. They're challenged. They might be something that's a little bit out of reach, but not completely impossible, right? And should help create a sense of passion for the people who are working towards it. Again, in this workshop we recently did, I was talking about this, 10, 25 year, our BHAGs are, what is our vision for when we're ready to retire kind of goals.
Right.
And this woman said to me, she goes, I'm going to be dead in 25 years. And we were able to have a conversation with her that was like, well, you may not actually be dead in 25 years. She's an older lady who's starting a new career, but it isn't necessarily about that time frame. It's, what do you want the vision and the goal to be when you're done doing this?
I guess it always is strange to me that people don't set and have long-term vision goals.
I think because most people fall into what they're doing. Very few people come into it methodical with a plan. So, for example, we're in the remodeling industry. So many people start remodeling companies because they were carpenters working for somebody else and they were like, I can do that better. They don't have a goal. They don't have a plan. They just think that they can make more money than their boss because their boss is an idiot, right? Or so, whereas when we came into it, or when I came into it, I had to have a long-term vision because I came into it, I had to help my parents figure out a retirement plan. Then you came into the business and we had no safety net if something happened. So I kind of fell into what is the long-term vision because I have to work towards that. And most people don't think of it that way. We have a friend who runs a company that's a business that sells businesses. And one of the things we've been lucky enough to hear from them is you have to start thinking 10, 12 years before you even want to start planning 10, 12 years before you even want to sell your business to do it textbook version.
Yeah.
And most people can't think that far ahead. Because I think most people are afraid, well, we don't know what's going to happen. Things are going to change. Yes. But let's make a plan with the assumption that they're not going to change.
Yeah, it's just interesting to me that there's a lot of people who are like, I don't know, just whatever happens tomorrow. And I'm like, man, I think we think way far in advance of that.
Well, and I think because I grew up in a house, in a business where I saw the ebbs and flows, and I saw some of the what happens if we don't plan for the what happens, for the what ifs. And as we have come to find out, I'm an overcompensator.
Yeah.
So if the people around me are dirty, I like get crazy and really clean hard. So I think I overplan sometimes and over analyze.
Yeah.
But that's why we balance each other out, because you're a much more of a wow person.
I'm the fun one.
Listen, we've been looking at bed frames for 2 years.
We've been looking for bedroom furniture for 2 years. We have
so close to pulling the trigger.
20-year-old bedroom furniture. It's gonna feel like we're adults.
We have adult furniture now. We may still also be utilizing my childhood bedroom furniture, but that's okay.
That's okay. All right. All right. Let's land it here, Allison. What are some like initial steps people should take? When getting ready to set goals or plan. Like if you're listening to this and you're like, okay, I've never set a goal. I'm gonna turn off this podcast to these two lovely people who are talking, and I'm gonna start working on my goals. Like, how should they start it?
All right, I think you should write down what you think your goal is, and then 2 or 3 reasons why that's your goal. And then I think you should take that and fill out get in shape by. I want to get in shape.
Set the timeline.
By this date. By doing what?
Set the timeline and then set the pieces that are going to help you get to that. Time block your time to be able to achieve that goal.
And for every one of those pieces, ask yourself, what has to be true for me to do this? And it could be 3 or 4 or 5 things. And then look at each of those things. What has to be true for me to do this until you get to that very first thing, and keep them all listed out because they're going to build on each other.
And the other thing you should do is go to audibletrial.com/bizmarried. And I'm going to challenge you to listen to 2 books. One is 2 books. You get a free book on us, a free 30 days of Audible if you go to audibletrial.com/bizmarried. But 2 books. One is Jim Collins's Built to Last: Successful Habits of Visionary Companies. If you don't know Jim Collins, he writes a ton of like entrepreneurial based books. Good to Great is probably the one that most people know, but Built to Last is also a great book to help you build habits. And then the other book I'd tell you to read is, and we've mentioned it on this already, Gino Wickman's Traction, and the Vision Traction Organizer helps you with that process as well. Set up goals and set the markers to achieve those goals.
And I know some people say, oh, I zone out when I'm listening to them. It's okay. You can just rewind it and go back.
Yeah, that's the great thing about Audible. Just go back a chapter.
I stick it on when I'm in the car. It plays. I think about things. I take what works and what sticks out to me, and then I move on.
There are so many times where I'm listening to Audible and I'm like, I zone out on it and I'm like, I don't even hear any of that. And I just hit back and go to the beginning of the chapter.
It's great.
Listen to it again. So check it out. audibletrial.com/bizmarried. That's audibletrial.com/bizmarried to get a free 30 days of Audible on us. Also, check us out online. There's a lot. There's our website, marriedwithabusiness.net. You can go there, find a lot of information about us, about some of the things that we do out there in the world. You can read about Allison's My Wisdom boards are on there. You can learn a little bit about, having that sort of accountability. Yeah, that accountability group that can help you to meet your goals. And then you can also just see about us. You can send us some information. Maybe you'd like to be on the show. We'd love to hear from you.
Oh, I love hearing other people's stories and how they got to where they're doing and how they're making it work and how they haven't made it work in the past.
Also, check us out on social media. We're on Facebook and Instagram at BizMarried. You can also find us on TikTok, Allison.
You run the TikTok. I don't know how to TikTok.
I run the TikTok. We're also on TikTok at BizMarried as well. BIZ married as well. So definitely check it out. Thanks for listening, everybody. Hey, we're going to take a break for the next month. We'll be back in January with some new episodes, some interviews coming up with some great people, lots of interesting information. So be sure to hit that like, subscribe, and come back in a month and listen to some new episodes. And remember, not only is it important to focus on your business, but also your marriage, because we're married with a business.